Hello, I'm CJ Willerman, and in this episode, we reveal how a potential US war against Iran will result only in the destruction of both Israel and the United States. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. During the presidential campaign, Trump promised to end the war in Ukraine and bring peace to the Middle East. But instead, he has emboldened Russian aggression, bombed Yemen, and given Israel a green light to continue its genocidal operations without restraints or limits. And now the Orange Menace is on the verge of launching a war against Iran, having openly admitted to delaying an imminent Israeli attack against the Persian country's nuclear reactors.
Off an Israeli attack on Iranian nuclear facilities. Can you comment on that? Is that accurate?
And they said the attack is what?
That you waved off an Israeli plan to attack Iranian nuclear facilities.
I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death. And I'd like to see that. That's my first option. If there's a second option, I think it would be very bad for Iran.
Israel is preparing military strikes against Iran's nuclear program with full US support, as evident in the Pentagon deploying B-52 and B-2 bombers to Diego Garcia, an island military base located in the Indian Ocean. This rapid buildup is supported by the deployment of 2 aircraft carriers to the Red Sea, and the relocation of Patriot and THAAD missile systems in the region. Trump is applying a maximalist pressure campaign to force Tehran into rolling back its nuclear capabilities. His message is clear: either give up your nuclear ambitions or we will bomb and invade you. It's the exact same threat made against Saddam Hussein. But unlike Iraq, Iran does possess weapons of mass destruction, having acquired enough material to produce at least 2 nuclear warheads. It not only carries a nuclear deterrent, but also has the capability to hit back and hard, with at least one former US State Department advisor warning that while the US can start a war against Iran, it will be Tehran that has the final say.
Well, Iran is weakened in the region, but Iran has significant amount of missile capability still. And Iran has a very advanced nuclear program that, yes, it can be bombed, but it cannot be destroyed from the air, and it can be rebuilt. And so just bombing Iran's nuclear facilities does not do away with its nuclear program. And that's exactly is where Iran's leverage is. The United States can start a war with Iran, but it will not get to finish it. It will not have the say as to how Iran would react or whether Iran would go nuclear or not. And therefore, I think the Iranians understand that war is not in their advantage, but is also not in America's advantage either. And they have enough nuclear capability right now to hold America and Israel's attention, and that's what is bringing the United States to the diplomatic table.
Iran has spent years preparing its air, land, and sea defenses against an Israeli or US attack. There's simply no war scenario Tehran hasn't already gamed out. It wisely kept its gunpowder dry while the Zionist army exhausted its ammunition and assets in its failed war against Hamas, a poorly armed amateur militia in comparison to the powerful Iranian military. Its options for counterstriking Israel and the United States are virtually limitless.
An adversary that would almost certainly turn to guerrilla tactics early on. Military analysts say Iran could stage attacks such as those last year on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and Saudi oil fields. The U.S. blamed Iran for those hits. Iran denied it, but world oil markets were briefly rocked nonetheless, and bigger attacks could undeniably create larger shocks.
Iran is fully aware that in order to defeat the United States, it must blow US warships out of the water and shoot down its B-52 and stealth bombers from the skies. No doubt, this represents a huge challenge for any military to overcome. But Iran has the luxury of possessing one of the world's most modern and powerful missile defense systems. And last month, it showed off just one of its many so-called missile cities, in which thousands of ballistic missiles are pointed towards Israel and US assets in the region, while kept safe in sprawling, sophisticated underground facilities. American aircraft carriers and destroyers will be hit like never before by a combination of submarine and surface vessels.
Iran will counter American carrier strike groups using a combination of swarming speedboat tactics, and there are also reports that suggest Iran may have acquired small submarines from North Korea, adding to its existing arsenal of Ghadar-class midget submarines. Additionally, Iran has developed new stealth, twin-hull attack ships designed to counter larger U.S. destroyers as well as hidden container ships with missiles.
Iran also has a strategy to counter US warplanes.
Iran's K-Bar-Shekan missile, which entered service in 2022, is specifically designed to bypass advanced air defense systems. It runs on solid fuel, meaning it can launch quickly, and its warhead is a triconic shape that stays stable even during extreme maneuvering. Iran says this missile can beat THAAD, Patriot, and Israel's David's Sling, and thanks to its terminal maneuvering ability, it can even strike moving targets like airborne bombers. At impact, it's still moving at around Mach 2 to 3. That's fast enough to cause serious trouble.
The one glaring hole in Iran's air defense is a missile platform that's capable of taking out B-2 stealth bombers, which fly at subsonic speeds with a range of 4,000 miles and a maximum altitude of 50,000 feet, therefore putting it out of reach of a majority of Iran's air defenses. A huge concern given this warplane carries a large arsenal of 500 and 2,000-pound bombs. But here's the thing. Wars aren't won from the air. They must be won on the ground. A lesson the United States knows all too well, having failed to defeat the Iran-backed Houthi militias despite bombing Yemen consistently for the past decade. And it's also a lesson that Israel learnt the hard way, having watched Hamas grow stronger and more determined after bombing Gaza for the past 18 months. So, if the United States and Israel wants to defeat Iran, they will have to put boots on the ground, a move that guarantees the United States suffers a crushing and humiliating defeat. Firstly, the US lacks the regional bases necessary to build up the forces required to invade Iran, destroy its armed forces, displace the revolutionary regime in Tehran, and then control the population. And even if the US somehow manages to pull all of that off, Iranian soldiers would simply remove their uniforms, melt into the general population, and launch an armed insurgency, the kind that saw the US get its ass kicked in Vietnam, Somalia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. A ground invasion would also send the price of oil rocketing to the moon, and in turn, creating a global economic shockwave that will not only crash the American economy, but also ignite further social and political unrest, leading potentially to civil war and societal collapse. And none of what I've just forewarned takes into consideration the fact that Iran has the capability to strike back hard against its attackers.
Iran could call on its many allies in the region to carry its fight against America. Shia militias, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, groups that could use Iranian intelligence, logistics, weapons, and more to launch terror strikes on U.S. allies, embassies, military bases, American officials, or even private citizens abroad or at home.
There is a network of Iranian elements within the United States that the FBI is watching.
Iran's first move will be to cut off the Straits of Hormuz, which will be catastrophic for global energy supplies, as 1/5 of all global oil flows through this vital waterway. And even if Iranian naval vessels are knocked out by US warships or warplanes, then Iran could also attack and sink a large merchant ship or oil tanker to physically blockade the strait. But a bigger concern to Israel and the United States is the real likelihood that Iran not only already possesses at least 2 nuclear warheads, but also it has successfully hidden its arsenal in a network of impenetrable sites.
They've been constructing an underground facility over the past 2 years or so, 2, maybe 3 years. And this facility is much deeper than other underground facilities that we know of, including Fordo and Parchin.
And with what's known about the facility in the Zagros Mountains, concern is growing.
Iran has stated that they would move their centrifuge assembly facilities to this underground facility, but the massive size of this facility does give us concern that they could conduct other operations such as a centrifuge cascade or enrichment program.
Everything we have covered here explains why Trump suddenly and unexpectedly waved Israel off from attacking Iran last week. It's clear the president's advisors have carefully explained to him the potential risks of executing this war, a war that will ultimately destroy Israel and the United States. And while I've been a long-time critic of the Iranian regime, specifically in regard to its imperial and colonial conquests and ambitions in the Arab world, I lend my vociferous support to the Iranian people and its military in their struggle against Zionist and American aggression. And we will be here to document and report every Zionist and American war crime in the Middle East. But that's my time for today. Please remember to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJ We can't produce, sustain and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.